All right, test it now, Madam Pierce, to see if the mic is on. You sure?
Good morning.
It's on.
It's
I think you
better?
just have to speak a little closer to it. I see member Carencia Morrison is online and member Guy has joined us in the chamber.
Morning, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead,
That's
Madam
on?
Pierce. Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you.
So good morning, Chairman. Good morning, members, and also colleagues from the Auditor General's Department, the Auditor General herself, and also to colleagues from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, to my own colleagues from the Ministry, the ODPEM, and the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation. My name is Marcia Henry Martin from the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, Permanent Secretary. With me today are Mr. Richard Thompson, Acting Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, and he's supported by his team. And also to my right is the Principal Finance Officer from the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. I'm also supported by Mr. Owen Brown from the Parochial Revenue Fund branch. And I believe immediately behind me is Mr. Patrick Watson, Senior Director, Hazard Mitigation and Risk Management in the ministry. I believe the St. Catherine team is also here. Chairman, the last time I appeared, they were not, and you had asked that they return for an appearance.
Could they introduce
Yes.
themselves? Just press your mic and introduce yourselves, please.
Marvelyn Pitter, Chief Executive Officer, St. Catherine Municipal Corporation. I'll allow the other members to introduce themselves.
Peter Hewitt, Director, Revenue and Commercial Services, St. Catherine Municipal Corporation.
Paula Lynch, Budget Revenue Officer, St. Catherine Municipal Corporation.
Once you finish speaking, just turn off your mic so the next person can. Go ahead.
Dolores Gooden, CFO.
All right. Madam Auditor General, could you introduce yourself and your team?
A pleasant good morning, Chair, and to everyone else in attendance. With me this morning is Deputy Auditor General Marlon Macadam, Deputy Auditor General Gail Lulim, and we're also accompanied by Oliver Loney, who is to my far left, Athleen Thomas, Iselin Cooper, and Samantha Hannum, and Shantae Scott Rookwood as well. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Blake from Ministry of Finance.
Morning, Hope Blake, Deputy Financial Secretary, Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, and with me is Barrington Thomas, Head of the Accounting and Financial Policy Branch.
And there's one lady who hasn't introduced herself in black jacket, Madam. Yes, could you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'm Bridget Hardy. I'm a member of the ODPEM team.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, members. We have the, just by way of opening remarks, this meeting is really a continuation of the meeting we had last month, and we couldn't complete it because we were up against time, where we had looked at the annual report of the Auditor General, and specifically we honed in on the municipal corporations, primarily because of the significant backlog in providing appropriation accounts. And we spent some time going through what was being done at a central ministry level and what was being done at the level of specific municipal corporations. As was noted, St. Catherine wasn't present at the last meeting, so I will be inviting St. Catherine to give an update as to where we are in terms of those outstanding appropriation accounts, and to find out the steps that the respective municipal corporations are taking to deal with the backlog. We also have the ODPEM, sorry. They're also here, and if members have questions, they can raise them. Members, we have the minutes of the meeting of February 11th before us, and I want to invite members for, if we could just go page by page. Any corrections on page 1? Page 1 is really just attendance and, oh, sorry, before I go any further, Madam Clerk, are there any apologies for absence? All right, we have no apologies for absence. Any correction on page 1, which is really just the attendance? Page 2. Huh? Okay, member Philip Henriquez is off the island. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Six. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. 10. 11. We had a very long meeting. Page 12. Page 13. And page 14. Could I invite Member Sibley's for confirmation? Member Guy? Seconded? Seconded by Member Guy. In terms of matters arising, okay, let me just bring to your attention the documents that have been tabled before the PAC today. The Auditor General's annual report for the year ending 2024, the responses from the KSAMC and the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation to the report at 1 above, the Auditor General's performance audit on the ODPEM, the ODPEM response to the report listed at 3, 5, the Ministry of Local Government. You said these were tabled, right? The ones here too. Okay. Yeah, the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development ICT report, 2 separate documents, follow-up responses from the meeting of February 11th. The Ministry of Health Action Plan, outstanding appropriation accounts, follow-up response from the meeting of February 11th. Letter of apology from the CEO of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation. Auditor General's prompt on the ODPEM audit, and the Auditor General's prompt on the Municipal Corporation. I am doing this less for the benefit of members in here, but for the benefit of the public and those who watch the proceedings, because we don't necessarily go through in detail every single response. But I think it's important that the public knows that the agencies have responded to the Auditor General, and these documents will be available to the public for their own scrutiny and review. I want to read, though, the Ministry of Health's response, which I know came in about 2 weeks ago. They gave a timeline for doing the audit. So, letter dated, and just again for the public's benefit, at the February 11th meeting, I'd asked the Ministry of Health to give us a response within a week. The letter was sent to us on February 17th. It's now being read because this is the first time that we're meeting. It's from the Permanent Secretary addressed to myself as Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. He says, and I'm quoting verbatim, "We write further to our appearance before the Public Accounts Committee meeting on February 11th in relation to the captioned matter, which is the outstanding appropriation accounts. Further to instructions issued at the above-mentioned meeting to provide a realistic time frame for the submission of the outstanding appropriation accounts, the Ministry hereby advises that the backlog of accounts would be completed and submitted to the Auditor General's Department by November 30th, 2025. Please find enclosed herewith for perusal the Ministry's action plan for the completion and submission of the outstanding appropriation accounts. The Ministry is appreciative of the support and the feedback provided by the committee. So in addition to this, there is a more detailed action plan which was submitted to the PAC outlining how the Ministry of Health intends to clear the backlog year by year. And there's a submission plan here. I would ask, Madam Auditor General, I know you wouldn't be in receipt of these documents. We'll share them with you, and I think it would be good to get your feedback on, I've used the word realistic a number of times, but really, you know, whether you think what is being provided is doable given the time frames that are outstanding. It's not? No? Use your mic.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, whilst I understand where you're going with this, and I know the Auditor General can speak for herself, but I don't think it's appropriate that for the Auditor General to speak to whether or not it is, because she would not know a number of things in order, what is it that the entity will implement to help them, or what are the other limitations. So, and from an auditor's point of view, I know she
should leave it
should
alone.
want to go there. I wouldn't go there.
All right, we can leave that alone. I mean, really, I think from my perspective, I just want to ensure that we don't keep coming back again and again with a number of these outstanding appropriation accounts. But I understand and I take your caution, and I will leave that one alone. Before I go further, could I invite the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation? You provided a letter, but you are here, so I'd invite you if you could just read your letter and provide your own update.
Okay. Good morning, members and chairman. So I need to read the letter, sir?
I think it's important for the
All
record
right.
because it was mentioned at the last minute, the last meeting. Yeah.
Okay. So this letter was addressed to Mrs. Henry Martin, re-invitation to appear before the Public Accounts Committee. This is in response to a forwarded letter addressed to you dated February 14, 2025, regarding the matter at caption. In relation to the readiness of the infrastructure to accommodate new accounting software, the following are currently in place. That's what it should be. And it lists 4 items: fiber optic internet.
Sorry, 1 second, Madam CEO. Before you go into that, I just wanted, you sent a letter of an apology, and I think that's for the records, so you can read that one, and then I will invite you to go into the substantive update in terms of where you are with the appropriation accounts and your own systems. So if you could, or you can summarize the letter, but since you're here, I don't want to read on your behalf.
I did not take that letter with me, but I remember most of the details in that letter. So we should have come to Parliament February 11, right? But I was sick. Members of my team, they were also sick. The morning of Parliament, I tried, but just could not make it. I had 2 members of my team, they were ill. So I sent an apology letter to the House of Parliament because I know I have an obligation or a responsibility as the Chief Executive Officer to attend Parliament when I am invited to do so and to answer questions based on things that are taking place within the municipal corporation.
Okay, CEO.
So I ask that the Parliament accept the apology from the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation.
I think, I don't know if I am empowered to do so, but you have written and you have said verbally, and I think we can accept it and move on.
Thank you,
And
sir.
if you can provide the substantive update now in terms of where you are with the appropriation accounts and preparing yourself for the new system that should be implemented.
Okay, as it relates to our financial account, we are at 2020. We had some challenges as it relates to staffing, but since recently, I wrote to the services
Sorry,
commission.
just so make sure I'm following you. So everything up to 2020, you have provided appropriation accounts?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Right, so we had some challenges as it relates to staffing, especially in the accounts department. So what I did was I wrote to all the departments to ask them to indicate what positions would help to strengthen their unit. Recently, we advertised a position, Services Commission, advertised some position for the director. It's a financial position. It's a position in accounts, right? And this position, this person would be fully in charge of the financial statements. That's the key output. So it has been advertised, and I know that persons have applied, right? As it relates now to...
But can you go a little further? What is their cutoff period? When would you...
The cutoff period was the 7th of March.
Okay, so you would anticipate that somebody would be in place,
Yes.
what, in another 2 months or so?
Well, hopefully, because
Okay.
we really need to be on par, because we want to ensure that we are doing the things in keeping with the law, and we also want to abide by the IPSTA standards. So we really need the staff to help us to move along. Right, so currently we wrote and state that for the year 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, we have added 2025 because we want to do this, all of this by October 2026.
By October 2026.
Right, so for 2021, we should send in the financial statements by July 2025. And
Okay,
we're
so
working
you're
on that.
staggering it. So
Yes.
the ones most outstanding you're trying to complete, and
Yes,
then
we are
you...
trying to complete
Okay.
these, right? Because we have a lot of bulky items, and for these, we have these to put on our system, and we don't have the staff. So that is why we're trying now to ensure that we get the requisite staff members to fill these gaps. Because we had tried before, that was before I joined St. Catherine, because I joined St. Catherine last year. They had tried before, but did not get anybody. Persons were interviewed, but no one was found to be successful.
What was the... I'm interrupting you here because I think it's important to understand whether the positions... is the issue the level of remuneration not being attractive enough for...
Before, but with the new position, with the new structure, the positions
the salary levels have been increased, so it's easier now to
Yes.
attract persons.
Yes,
Okay.
and I
all right.
really hope persons would, come on board.
Okay.
Right. So for March 2022, we are looking at October 2025. For March 2023, we're looking at February 2026. And for the period ending March 2024, we're looking at July 2026. And I also included for 2025, October 2026. We are going to try and we are going to do what is necessary. Because currently I sent out a memo for them to do a roadmap as it relates to our records, because this is important. Because a lot of times you will find that the auditors come and sometimes we cannot find the records because there are issues with storage, and everybody would know what St. Catherine building looks like. So we have serious challenges there. But nevertheless, we are trying to fix the issues and to just be on par. We want to be at the right place, doing the right things.
All right, I remember guys holding, but,
Yeah.
and the Auditor General said this at the last meeting. Notwithstanding all the challenges of staffing, backlog, etc., there really shouldn't be an excuse for the absence of maintaining physical records, right? Meaning if there are invoices, there are other documents which are pertinent to the preparation of financial statements and accounts. If you can't maintain that, then the integrity of any process just goes through the window. So while we're trying to clear the backlog, but we must ensure at all costs, as your number one priority, that physical records of documents are kept. And, you know, no IT system can fix that omission. And it is impossible to account for expenditures if those things are not there. So there has to be priority placed on that going forward, even though I accept that, you know, you may not have everything from the past, but you know, it's hard to justify or understand why going forward we can't maintain physical records, you know. But member Guy has been holding, so let me allow him to.
Thank you, Chair. Madam CEO, in your letter dated February 20th, you indicated at one of the bullet points that you do not have the requisite staffing. You did indicate to the chairman one of the measures that you have put in place, but you also have indicated or had indicated that we have engaged outside assistance to help with the reports. Can you walk us through that in terms of the outside assistance that you have engaged?
Turn on your mic, then. One second before he answers, I'm just going to, Member Sibley's has a joiner to the question before you answer.
I think what would be important is if you could tell us the accounting staff complement that you have.
All right, so if you could answer both questions, just turn on your mic so I can, yes, go ahead.
Yes, good morning, everyone. From time to time, we will employ persons on contract to assist with updating the records. Also, at present, the post that is advertised is a critical post, which the person will be able to focus directly on the final accounts to bring them up to date.
Can you be, I know my colleagues want to ask this question, can you be a little more specific? So if you have an accounts department, could you tell us the complement? How many people are in there, the positions, what's missing with the external help, who you brought in, what did they do, where did that move you from X to Y or Z? I think that's really what Member Guy wants to understand a little better.
Okay, actually over the years we have been coming from 2007 to come to this point. And persons have come in from time to assist with posting records because the things are bulky and updating their accounts.
Chair, before the officer replies, we get the impression, at least I do, that what is detailed in this letter is a concerted effort to get the accounts up to date. Now, what I'm hearing is that we get people from time to time. Is the committee being advised that we have put deliberate action in place to have people on a sustained basis to help us to get this within a particular time frame? Or is it that we have gone back, as was said, over the years we have engaged people from time to do the posting? Is this that we have a concerted effort now to ensure that this timetable that you have given us is met by the employment of people dedicated to do this?
I will respond to that, Member Guy. So, since I joined St. Catherine last year, I recognize that they have someone doing some records. I think it's the bank recon, right? The bank recon, and that person is still there doing the bank recon. So it is a concerted effort to get the records up to date as it relates to the financial statements and other financial obligations.
Can I just ask before Member Simplice comes, how many persons you have in your accounts department and what are the positions that are currently filled? Hold on, let me turn back on. Go ahead.
We have 10 persons currently within the accounts department. I will speak about at least 3 positions, and I will allow the Director of Finance to highlight the other positions. So we have the Chief Financial Officer, we have the Accountant Budget and Revenue Officer, we have the Accountant General Operations. So Ms. Goodo will speak about the other positions within the unit.
There's a Pilgrim 1 records clerk that was recently appointed. There's cashier, 1 cashier. Under the new structure, we are provided with 2 cashiers. There is the post that is advertised is a payroll officer. That one is advertised.
That's
also,
the one that you're doing the current recruitment for now?
Right, and also the financial final accounts.
Well, that person, the payroll officer, wouldn't solve the problem of the outstanding appropriation accounts, though.
Right, but there are different posts.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Go ahead.
There's an AC1 post that deals with the payroll officer is split in 2 posts. There's one for fortnight salaries and one for monthly. There's also, accounting technicians. There are 3 accounting technicians. One does the recon, one updates the ledgers, and one does the checking. Well, 2 actually, between it alternates.
All right, Member Simplice has a question.
Chair, before, in getting the answer, I don't know if the answers have been helpful so far. You have an organization structure before the new organization structure were approved, correct? And in that establishment, that previous establishment, how many persons were there? 10 persons in that establishment.
Sorry, just for the ease of responding, just keep on your mic. So press it, let me keep it on. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, so 10 persons for that previous establishment. For the current establishment, which is, I think member guy wanted to ascertain the additional amount. How many more persons are added to the establishment?
I can say 10 more persons.
10 more persons
Yes.
were added to the
It may
establishment.
be a little less or a little more,
So-
but at least 10 more persons.
So a minimum, you might have our accounts department know that should have a minimum of 20 persons?
Yes.
Okay. And of that 20 persons, how many are now being currently being recruited for?
2 positions were advertised.
2 positions were advertised. And those 2 positions are the Director of Final Accounts?
The Director of Final Account, and the key output is the financial statements and payroll. I think it's a payroll, senior payroll officer.
A senior payroll officer.
Those 2.
Right. So that is what we want. Earlier you said that your financials are up to 20 20, that is confirmed by the Auditor General, yes? And you have given us quite a pretty clear roadmap, and I am very much appreciative of that. It gives us a sense of what is going to happen, and to my mind, Chair, some sort of reality that, you know, given the gaps when financials will be produced, a set of financials will be produced, and so on. But with regards to all that is happening in St. Catherine, Madam CEO, the public is of a sense that the accounts have been sort of impacted based on this investigation that is going on. And the question that the chairman said about record keeping there, how is your record keeping? Can you give us a sense of whether or not your records are intact or there is help needed? Out? What is really happening with the records? Because that is where it lies if you are going to produce your financials. And the auditors not asking for financials alone, you know. If they don't get evidence to support the figures, they are going to come here and they are going to say, we get financials, yes, but we are not able to substantiate, we are not able to verify the numbers. So can you speak to us about your record keeping?
Okay, okay, Member Siblings. All right, so since I joined, I have recognized that we have serious space challenges, and we are also in a termite-infested building that also impacts our record keeping. But nevertheless, I have indicated to the team that all the records, the necessary supporting documents must be attached. I also indicate to them recently that they should develop a roadmap as it relates to our records in terms of where we will store these records, and we should have the headings of whatever it is. So if it is financial statements for whichever year, we should have all of those documents to provide to the Auditor General when they come to the office, because that is critical.
Can I just stop? And Ms. Blake, I'm thinking of you or Mr. Thomas. Is there any facility within government which allows records, physical records, to be either scanned and uploaded and maintained electronically so that we don't have to have reams and reams of papers going back years? Do we have that? Is there anything like that? Because this seems to be a challenge across a number of the municipal corporations, that they have limitations in terms of their physical space, ability to store records, and as I think everybody has said here, it's impossible to do an audit without proper records. But everybody seems to be in the same challenge of just physical limitations of space. So I don't know whether within the government system there's any facility that allows these records to be scanned, uploaded, put on a drive, and held electronically somewhere, so that going forward we have a better system of maintaining these records.
Currently only after the process, which is archiving. But as it stands, the FA Act, the laws require the physical documents.
Okay.
So we are still at that stage.
I think that's something we may have to examine. Yeah, I think it's something we have to look at, because when records get lost, if weather events and other things, you spoke to challenges with termites and other things, then you just can't get the records. And, you know, you're unable to determine the true financial state of an entity. Member Guy?
Thank you, Chair. Madam CEO, I go back to you again, because I want you to give this committee a assurance as best as you can. You now have, initially we were told that there were 10 persons in the department. Now we've been told that with the new structure we should have a minimum of 18, maximum of 20. I gather that based on what has been happening, most of the personnel in the department are dealing with day-to-day activity, accounts, auditing, reconciliation, bank reconciliation. How many of these 18 that you have indicated to us that now comprise the department will be tasked to doing the backlog of work? Because if you don't have a particular group dealing with this, we run the risk of coming back here next year and giving a date of 2028, 2029 to have this done. Can you give this committee now the number of persons who are actually tasked with doing this backlog of work so that the dates that you have given us can be realized?
All right, so Member Guy, we still have 10 persons. We have just asked the Commission to advertise 2 positions, right? Because what we also would need to look at is the matter of space to put these persons when we ask the Commission to advertise the other positions. So currently we are still at 10 persons.
So you're, if I understand you correctly, you're saying your physical space limitations is...
The physical space limitation...
is an inhibitor to taking on more people?
Yes, it is. I have currently written to my superintendent to do an assessment of the building to see if there are spaces that we can put some small cubicles until we find a location where St. Catherine can have a municipal building. So currently we have serious space challenges.
So following up on Member Guy's question and the chairman's question, if it is that we have a space limitation, did your plan that you mentioned earlier take into consideration that you have space limitation? And did your plan include improvement as it relates to space? And did it include you getting those other 8 staff to assist? Because based on what you are saying, space is a limitation.
So, Chairman, Member Sibley's, we are not there yet. As I indicated, I wrote to the CEO to ask him to look at the space that we currently have and how best we can fit staff members. I have not included those 8 as yet because I need now to go through, right, to see the other positions within the finance unit that is critical to the process before I can say we are going to need 15, 20 spaces, because not only accounts department needs strengthening, but several other departments within the municipal corporation would need strengthening.
Yes, but we are really, being that we are at PAC, you see, and the financials are a big deal. It's really a big deal, right? We want to know that those days that you have put forward, are they realistic in light of the fact that you are now saying that you have space limitation, You have not started the recruitment of the other 8 persons to assist in bringing the accounts up to date. Because last time that we met here, when you were absent for good reason, we were talking about the local representative being given adequate resources. Now there is staff in the establishment that we can recruit, right? And we can recruit persons at competitive salary. And that is great news. You are saying, wait a minute, we have space issue, where we're going to put the staff. So I'm asking now, in light of that, will your plan hold? In light of that, will your plan hold what you have given to this committee? Because that is what we are going to use, that you said this, but you never said it with any caveat. So I'm giving you the opportunity to tell this committee if whether or not your plan will hold.
Yes, Member Sibley's, I think my plan will hold based on the work that we are currently putting in place. And what I will also do, members, when I go back to the office, I will look back on my establishment, on the JDs, for the additional positions within the accounts unit, and see how many other persons we would be able to ask the commissions to advertise these positions. We will have to find the space, because I have recognized that within the office, some of the offices I realize can hold 2 persons. 1 person is within those spaces. So I've looked at that. I've asked my SEOP to look at that, because one of the critical and important things is the finance unit.
Okay, so let me move to this question. I'm really rephrasing the question that I asked earlier, and I think the chairman also mentioned something to that extent when he asked our colleagues from the Ministry of Finance, and they answered that there is no, the policy now is that we can't scan and destroy papers. We have to keep the hard copy. The question I'm asking, have you done an internal audit of your documents, the documents that you ought to have? And having done that audit or review, you are satisfied that you are in a good position? That's one question. The other question, it is public knowledge that the investigators from the police force had taken documents and stuff. Would this impact the accounts department providing the kind of evidence?
All right, so yes, the second question, yes, because they have taken some critical documents that we need to use currently, and we are just stuck. They have taken some critical
So again, to come back to your time frames, there are clearly some matters outside of your control which could impact the time frames that you gave us. And I think that's really where the member is going, that your time, you're doing the best you can, but the reality is that if those documents are not within your possession, you wouldn't be able to prepare the financials for those documents.
That's correct.
I think that's pretty much what the member is asking.
Yes, what we want from you, CEO,
yes, sir.
what I concur with the chairman, and I thank the chairman for really underscoring the point that I was making, that with all of these things that you have mentioned, do you think?
Well, all right. What I would do, Madam CEO, I'm going to ask you, I'll give you a week, all right, as I did with the Ministry of Health, and I'll ask you to write to us and give us in writing your update. Taking into account all the factors, space limitations, recruitment, the unavailability of documents that are not in your possession, and to give us an update in a week written to the clerk to indicate your time frame given all these considerations.
No problem.
And while I'm not helping you to draft that letter, I take it that you do not and you would not know how long the police will hold those documents. So I'm taking that in that letter that you're going to write to us, you're going to say subject to the documents being returned, then 3 months or 4 months after they're being returned, you will be able to produce. I take it that is probably that because we cannot, not here, not anywhere, interfere with the police investigation. So I say please be careful.
Okay. Yes, member siblings, agree with you, and yes. And we have written to MOCA because there were some critical things, some computers, and we got back the computers, but as it relates to the physical documents, because it's quite a bit that they have taken, they still have those, and they are not able to say to me when the investigation will be completed.
Okay. All right, well, Madam CEO, as I said, in a week, based on all the factors, give us a time frame, and we understand the uncertainties and the risks, but we just want all of those things to be taken into consideration. Members, I'm going to move on from St. Catherine. I don't know if the Auditor General has any comments on St. Catherine. Anything further? Ma'am?
Chair.
Okay. All right. Can we go to, you have a comment, Member Guy?
No, not St. Catherine, Chairman.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on then to the...
No, Chair, I had my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Member Morrison. Go ahead.
Right, thanks. Chair, and this is not a question. I just want to add that you're on a roll this morning, Chair. I like how you are deliberating, and certainly through the view of the Auditor General, that when it comes to maintaining good records, it's not transactional, it's not a trade-off at all, because when we are going to, in light of the fact that it is one of the locations targeted by MOCA, the investigation is ongoing. When Jamaicans hear about termites and rats, it is going to make people question who the real termites and rats are. So we would love to see a resolution to this thing in terms of having the accounts in good order. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Morrison. Can we now move to the ODPEM, the Auditor General's Performance Audit? Yes, Member Guy.
No, I just had something which actually should have been on a matters arising.
Okay, go ahead.
Relates to a document that I had specifically asked in the last meeting about the preparedness of the municipal corporations for the new development of the software and hardware that is being proposed by the ministry. I'm looking through the document, PS, and I see that 8 of the municipal corporations have no backup generators and 5 do not have UPS for their network. Is there contemplation for funds to be provided in the budget to bring those up to the level where they will have generators for that activity as well as UPSs?
Yes, Member. Presently, we are doing, this is an ongoing process, as you can imagine, because I believe you're looking at the February 2025 report?
Yes.
Right. So as we speak, the team is doing the ongoing reviews to develop a budget. I know even from just meeting with Trelawney last week that they too have indicated the need for some support. So we are aware that there will have to be supporting infrastructure to support the software. So yes, that is part of the approach.
Okay, thank you. Auditor General, either yourself or the member of your team, if you could just give us an overview of the ODPEM's audit and just flag any of the issues that came to your attention.
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Chairman, before...
Okay, go ahead, Pierce.
Is it okay for St. Catherine to go since we have taken them already?
Yes, yeah, they can be released, yeah. Thank you for being here. Yeah.
Yes.
You can go ahead, Madam Auditor General.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. So I commissioned the performance audit to determine whether ODPEM was effectively managing its resources to advance Jamaica's disaster preparedness and emergency management capabilities. The audit also sought to assess whether ODPEM's governance and resource management practices were aligned to its strategic objectives. The audit revealed that for the period 2018-19 to 23-24, ODPEM experienced some challenges in the management of its financial, human, and physical resources that posed a risk to its ability to effectively plan and respond to emergencies and natural disasters. We also sought to determine whether ODPEM's governance and resource management practices were aligned to its strategic objective to build organizational capacity through organizational restructuring and reengineering. The audit revealed that there were inefficiencies that jeopardized ODPEM's ability to fulfill its mandate, and we also noted that some records revealed weaknesses in the corporate governance practices and the management of financial, human, and physical resources. And I'll stop there, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Madam Pierce or maybe Mr. Thompson as the Director General, if you want to just give an overview in terms of the issues highlighted, the actions taken, and where we're at specifically with ODPEM.
Thank you again, Chairman and members. Okay, so first of all, we are really appreciative of the work done by the Auditor General's team on the ODPEM. I believe it was an excellent experience, especially with the detail that the team went to ensure we had a very robust approach to this report. And so having received the findings, we would have responded to some of the queries, or all of the queries, some of which were accepted. So generally, as it is now in respect of governance and oversight, the report had highlighted that the annual reports for the ODPEM were still outstanding for the period 2018, I believe, to 2024. As we speak, I would have indicated that we expect to table those before the end of the financial year. We're far advanced with that, and it's just a matter now of tidying up a few of the pages so those can be submitted to the Cabinet. With respect to the strategic and operational plans, it is a fact that those were not signed off on prior, and as at last year, September 5, the 24-25 plan would have been signed off on, and for the 25-26 period, we have received those, and the board would have also endorsed those. With respect to the physical resource management component of the report, just to note that the ODPEM accepts that, yes, there are some challenges and has taken steps to address what the findings were. Mr. Thompson will speak more to what those arrangements are. But just to note that the ministry continues to work with the ODPEM with respect to its inventorying and ensuring that it is adopting the recommendations put forward by the Auditor General. The report also spoke to human resource management challenges, which part of the mandate of the ministry is to look at the overall structure of all its public bodies and the local authorities, the ODPEM being one. As we speak, that organizational structure is far advanced, the review, and I am advised that the target timeline to complete is May 2025, which will address several of the challenges that we were seeing with respect to technical versus administrative functions. In summary, Chairman, I would want to close it off there and to just reiterate that the government of Jamaica, you'd have heard Minister spoke to it at the Standing Finance Committee, that the whole management of the disaster portfolio is being looked at a higher level. That work continues. We have met with them at least 2 times already, and we look forward to the findings also to be used to strengthen the operations.
All right. Mr. Thompson, you have anything to elaborate in terms of the response or in terms of actions being taken? Just put the mic closer to you. No, man, use the same one there. Yeah.
Morning, everyone. Morning, Chair. One of the main things that, in terms of the findings and in terms of what my permanent secretary just said, that we're paying critical attention to is in terms of the national stores. We manage assets, think close to or in excess of $1 billion, and we are ensuring that we're taking the necessary.
And these are, just for my clarity and probably the public's, these are items that you store in the event of a natural disaster so that you can provide it to persons affected? Yes. Okay.
So we have ensured that the warehouse maintenance scheduling is in place. We have done a lot of training for our warehouse and logistics team, and we have ensured that we have also taken steps to ensure that we are doing proper labeling of our items to ensure that we can account specifically for our first in, first out operation, which was one thing that was identified by the Auditor General. So those are some of the steps that we have taken to ensure that we are keeping as best as possible a proper logistics system to support the general public. And PS mentioned in terms of where we are with in terms of the organization review. That is essential in terms of our operation. Currently, the organization is skewed in terms of administrative to technical. We have more administrative personnel than technical personnel, and so we are ensuring that in looking at the overall reorganization of the ODPEM, that we flip it to ensure that there are strong technical complement. Our establishment is 93, and so we are trying to expand.
And what's the current complement out of 93?
The current strength is about 67.
And what's the number of admin versus technical staff?
It's about 35, 65.
35 what?
35, 65, roughly. Or
35% technical and 65% admin.
Yes.
And I suppose it should be flipped in an ideal world. It should be much more much more technical than admin. Yeah.
Yes.
What's the time frame, PS, in
Chairman,
terms of that
is
review?
currently being looked at. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service has indicated that they are targeting by May 2025. Worst case scenario, I believe June, because they're also looking at other aspects of the ministry based on the direction that we're taking overall.
And I'm diverting a little, but since I have you, I have to ask these questions. One of the major complaints related to your organization is the inadequacy of communication to the public in relation to either natural disasters, impending disasters, or perceived threats of natural disasters. And we are in an information age where all kinds of information get circulated from different sources. Sometimes it creates hysteria, and people look to the ODPM as the authority to say, well, this not go so or this goes so. But, you know, certainly there's been, I would say, a lack of timely communication. How are you addressing that as an issue?
Well, yes, Chair. We have identified that as some concern. We have taken the necessary steps. We are expanding on our social media reach. That's one of the areas where you will get early information and also you can get disinformation. So we have expanded on that to ensure that we have the necessary support and to also ensure, and the org review will address it as well, additional support in our corporate communication apparatus and the overall corporate communication unit in terms of the numbers and persons who are point persons with the media. So the org review will address that as well as what we are doing currently now in terms of expanding our social media reach and ensuring that we can provide adequate information, timely information, and accurate information to the public.
All right. And I assume, I mean, you would have access to sources that are better technically than what the public would, because what happens in a hurricane, everybody goes on different sites and then they start to come to their own conclusions as to whether the thing going to come this way, that way. And as I said, people wait on you to know whether they really should get up and move. Like you had this tsunami, I don't know if it was an alert, warning, whatever. Eventually you had communicated that there was no real reason or no real threat. But when somebody hears Cayman is affected, then they wonder if they're in Montego Bay, whether they need to go move to higher ground. And so, you know, it is important that there is earlier. I mean, one is the technical assessment to determine the threat, but then to reassure the public so the public knows as a source of authority what actions or not they need to take.
Yeah, correct, Chair.
The other question, again, not specific to the audit, when we do have natural disasters, the responsibility for the establishment of shelters, is that ODPM's responsibility? And in terms of the provision of items within a shelter, maybe you could indicate what you are responsible for, where your responsibility stops, and where other things or other entities would have to pick up in that regard.
All right, thanks, Chair. So the broader mandate and the overall mandate is the ODPEMs. We work in collaboration with the local authorities, municipal corporations, to ensure that each parish have adequate shelters. Shelter inspections are done very early. We're way in advance of the hurricane season. And what we do, we include within those shelter assessment, the Ministry of Health, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, technical assistant from the local authorities and the ODPEM is a part of that. What we have also done is to ensure that we have maintained our COVID protocol coming out of COVID. A lot of, so we had recast and rebranded our shelter management plan to include those COVID imperatives, because we still maintain them. We are in an era where your anthropogenic type events and
Sorry, just break that down for the public, please.
So we are in an era where your anything man-made, anything natural, we have to broaden that to include as well your public health crisis. We have seen COVID, we have seen H1N1, we have seen a number of public health crises. So and then for disasters, you can have multiple disasters happening at the same time. We saw that in COVID. We are in COVID, and we also have to be planning for the hurricane season. So our shelter protocol have taken that into account. In terms of supplies for shelters, that's also the responsibility of the ODPEM. So we ensure that the necessary cots, blankets.
You know, there's a big gap there. And I think as members of parliament, all of us face that. Certainly my recollection, I think if it was last year or the year before, where shelter managers are appointed, they get to shelters, and then they call in us as MPs and say, Boy, when on a cot, when I have nothing inside there. The shelter is here, but it does bare concrete for the people them sleep on. And then it tends to be a rush and a thing to get the supplies in. So maybe you want to explain how that protocol should work, but I can tell you it doesn't work ideally at all.
Well, we have in excess of 800 shelters across the island, and I mean, I think every country have budgetary constraints in terms of ability to properly equip for risk management working. But we have worked tirelessly, and in terms of our shelter program, we have shelters that are used more often than others. For those, we ensure that we try to equip those to operate. There are also times when persons will go into a community center or a church which is actually not a designated shelter, and you will get information to say that persons are in those shelters. We try to facilitate those as well. But a lot of the times, persons are not in the ones that are designated as shelters. So what we have been doing...
The cases I'm speaking about, though, are designated shelters, yeah.
Yes, so for once it is, what we try to do is for the ones that are used very often, we pre-position supplies. Others, dependent on how persons get to there, we facilitate those in terms of the setting up. But as I said, there are 800 plus shelters, in excess of 850. And so there are at times some difficulty to cover all of those.
All right, I have member Guy, then member Carencia, and then member Sibley's.
Thank you very much, Chair. The 800 number you mentioned, Mr. Thompson, is not just yesterday. ODPEM knows about that number from a long time. So to tell the committee that, yes, 800 are there and it will impact us is almost like something that is kind of hard to digest. Does the organization have decentralized locations for these equipment that is owned by ODPEM, so that in the event of disaster that you can have them in the respective areas quickly, different from those that you pre-position for those that are used more often. I have another question, but not necessarily related to this, so I'll ask you to answer this one first. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do have other storage facility outside of our main storage facility, like in Kingston. We have, as I said, we work jointly with the local authorities. They are part of the overall national framework, and there are storage facilities in parishes that allow for the municipal.
Can you indicate where these, like across the island?
Well, there is St. Thomas, St. Mary, Mandeville. Most, if not all, the parishes have those, and the municipal corporation as well have assets that they have in their possession that is used to put into shelters if needs arise for those shelters to be activated.
All right. I'm going back to one of the issues that came out of the AG's report, and notwithstanding the fact that there is an organizational review that is ongoing, notwithstanding the fact that that will be completed by July, I think, as the PS indicated, and it came in the report, how is the physical infrastructure at that ODPEM headquarters? Is one, we see where it's affecting the staff in terms of turnover, but how is the mold issue being affected, how is it affecting the staff? And secondly, what measures have been and are being put in place to remedy it?
Well, remember, in terms of the challenges that we were having in 2023, 2024, that has been addressed, and we completed those building renovation and dealing with the problem that exists in January of 2024. So we completed that, and so the building is now, when the Auditor General was there, we were doing some internal work, and that has been completed.
So you're basically saying that concern is no longer
that has been addressed.
And the air conditioning is okay as well.
And the air conditioning works, and what we are doing as well is as a recommendation from the Ministry of Health is ensuring that we have air purifiers as well across the organization. So those measures are being applied as well.
Are or have been?
So the building and the recommendations have been addressed in terms of what was given to us.
Okay, all right. And the final one, as in the report to issue number 2, the regional coordinators. I know that might impact on what is being done at the organizational review, but you can't, Rome is burning. Have you been able to have these regional organizers or coordinators in place?
Yeah, so those are in place at present. So that was one of the first things that we moved to fill in terms of those vacancies. So those are in place. So we are addressing those to ensure that there is that interaction and coordination between ODPEM Central and the local authorities.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get out the parochial chairman. I know the one in St. Mary works. Does all the parish disaster committees, are they at the level that you expect them? PS is true, you know, St. Mary one works, yes. Are they working
because
at the level
they have
that
a senior member of parliament who ensures it works.
Thank you for that vote of confidence, Member Guy, in terms of what happened in St. Mary. They do have a good parish set up, and it is similar across the entire country in terms of the parish setup to influence and to effect disaster risk management working within the parish.
All right, Member Carencia? Member Morrison? All right, well, let me go to Member Sibley's, and then we can come back to Member Morrison.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to get parochial now because, and Chair, what you said earlier with regards to center management and members of parliament being called for issues that we would have thought would have been taken care of. They go to the center and they are saying there's nothing there. There's nothing in close proximity coming to the center. So the committee, the parish committee work, the meetings and the briefing and what need to be done, that work. But it is the execution in the event that I think the chairman was talking about. That shelter that is supposed to have X amount of bedding and food and so on, it is not there when the event happens. I mean, I experience it all the time, and I usually have to call close by where the shelter is and make some orders for food to reach the shelter and persons to get bedding stuff to the shelter. And so that is, I am wondering if it is possible that, you know, going forward, we could, if there's an audit of what happened at the last event, if there were any internal audit done as to our review as to what happened at the various shelter at the last event and feedback from stakeholders so that we can correct those things. And sometimes what we recognize as well as members of parliament is that the shelter manager sometimes move to a different location. And the committee is not advised on it. And so the shelter is in operation, but there's no shelter manager. The shelter manager cannot reach the location. So I'm wondering if we could just have those things reviewed as to who are the shelter managers, are they still living close to the location? And there are some shelters that are very remote, like Brandon Hill Primary School is very remote. And so by the time the beddings and the stuff is dispersed to reach, it is just too far, and it generally don't get there, and we have to make alternative arrangement. So can some of these things be in close proximity? Those things that are not perishable, yes, be in close proximity, and for arrangement to be made of shops or wholesales that are close, that they know that if certain event, because where the warehouse is in the parish might be too far.
Sure, sir. We will take those recommendations, and we will have a deep look at them in terms of implementations, because we do our overall assessment and look at some of those remote areas that we also have to do pre-positioning. And so we have been looking at that for implementation. So we do take your recommendation.
You know what I would recommend, actually, if you do a briefing or an information session with members of parliament, not waiting for an event to happen, but to let us know, where your responsibility starts and ends, what the expectations are. We are the front line ourselves, plus the councillors. Whenever there is an event, they have our numbers, so they're calling us for every single thing. So I think, it would be worthwhile, like now, we're not expecting anything, to just let us know. Let us know if there is a freak wind thing that destroys homes. Can we pick up the phone and call you, and you come in and intervene? Because, as I said, everything is directed to us. Yeah. And I think it's important for us to know where your responsibilities start and where your responsibilities end, so we can coordinate assistance to people in need in a more efficient and effective manner.
Sure, Chair. Sure.
Members, any other questions for the OD? Okay. Yes, Member Morrison. Yes, I was calling you, but you weren't there. You can go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Is an allocation made to local authorities? Like, is a yearly allocation made? That's one. Two, is there a stipend to shelter managers? And what is the process? For example, the number of persons housed. Do we have that information? And therefore, you could make an assessment, match that with what was allocated, because we want to make sure that the allocations impact the people who are most vulnerable. Also, broader assistance for the vulnerable. So after the disaster, who looks out for these persons in terms of support for housing, roof, whatever it may be, through the Ministry of Labor or any ministry that is indicated in terms of assisting these persons? Because I think that if we're going to grow and develop and really bring meaningful changes to people's lives, you don't want to have the same little old man every time there is a hurricane or so. It's the same face in the shelter. So in terms of this.
Member Morrison, did we lose you? I think her connection.
No, you're not hearing.
Okay, go back. Yeah, continue. Yeah.
Yes, where was I, Chair? I spoke about the audit and in terms of the broader assistance for the vulnerable. So after the disaster has passed, who passes the information of the persons housed to the Ministry of Labor, for example, for them to get housing assistance? We don't want to have the same persons at the shelter all the time, right? Where do we go after?
All right. Thank you very much, man, for your the question that you have posed. In terms of the process, we normally, after every event, we do what is called rapid damage assessment at the outset to have a quick and rapid assessment as to what is happening out there, and then beyond that, in-depth assessment is done to look at damage that has taken place from probably level 1 to level 3, total destroyed, and that information is collated in order for us to know how to respond to persons in terms of their welfare needs. And the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is a part of the overall disaster risk management framework to assist with those the kind of housing grants that might be required. The Ministry of Agriculture is a part of that process as well, in terms of agricultural grant assistance, and all the ministries of government are a part of the National Disaster Risk Management Framework. So that's how the system works in terms of looking at impacted individuals and how the state responds to them.
Is there an allocation to the local authority? A yearly allocation to the local authority?
I don't understand that question, ma'am. In terms of yearly allocation for what aspect of the overall response process?
Let's say you have a municipality. Is there funding given to the municipality to respond to this, like on an annual basis, like a particular allocation to respond to disasters?
Member, I'm not sure I'm absolutely clear on the nature of the question. It could be because of how I know the system to work. So you could be speaking to any aspect, for example, infrastructure, because where there is road damage, yes, the local authorities would normally do their assessments, send to the ministry, and where the provision is possible, that is made. For example, recently in Beryl, we would have done the assessments and would have accessed the National Disaster Fund, and that goes directly to the local authorities. So it all depends on which aspect you are referring to. And the local authorities themselves too. That's the
disaster fund.
Yes, yes. So an allocation,
yeah.
When they make their submission, that is done.
Okay. All right. Members, are there any other questions for the ODPEM team? If not, I'd like to thank you and the members of the Auditor General's team, the Ministry of Finance, and the other officials for being here. I'm inviting a motion for the adjournment. Member Sibley's, seconded by Member Morrison, and we will indicate the next date for our next meeting. Thank you very much for being here, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Chairman, members, colleagues.
With heat stroke being the most severe form of heat illness that primarily happens at the workplace, it is important to know the signs. This is where your body temperature goes up to 40 degrees centigrade and causes some form of neurological dysfunction, such as excessive sweating, loss of consciousness, seizures, and fainting spells.
Prior to the heat stroke, though, there may be some warning signs, like you may be nauseous, vomiting, diarrhea, having muscle cramps, becoming confused. You may have an increased heartbeat, and you may be very thirsty, and you may have mood changes or irritability.
Did you know that in 2024 we identified over 50 crash hotspots in Jamaica? Join the Island Traffic Authority each week as we spotlight notable crash hotspots across the island in our series Breaking Point.
This week's crash hotspot is Nonpareil Main Road in Westmoreland. In 2024, the roadway saw 6 fatal crashes that tragically claimed 7 lives, making it the leading crash hotspot in the parish last year. As we continue our mission to stay alive in 2025 and beyond, let us exercise caution and be vigilant while using the nation's roads.
Aspiring gunman, badman, young dance, liquor shotters, the 14, the 15, the 16-year-olds, you still have time to change your future and enjoy your life. No, not no gun for no guy. And no bother hang with no crowd that is always getting into trouble. Think about your family, your father, your mother, your granny. Some of you good and all have son or daughter. It's not worth it, my youth. Choose freedom.
Today, we can report 2 consecutive years of reduction in major crimes and murders, with a significant reduction of almost 20% in murders for 2024.
Between January 2022 and January 2025, we have reduced murders by 51%. And January 2025 had the lowest monthly murder count since September 2014.
Our efforts have also resulted in the reduction of active gangs by 50%. We continue to increase firearm seizures, and in more communities, we are experiencing less violence. We will realize our vision of Jamaica as the place of choice to live, work, do business, raise families, and retire in peace and prosperity.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Most Jamaicans will tell you corruption in politics is deep-rooted, and I just saw it said, and nothing can do about that. But actually, there is, and another 152 countries are doing it. It's called asset declaration, and it works best where citizens themselves understand it and help to ensure the law is enforced. Corruption happens when public officials abuse their power to benefit themselves, family, or associates. Jamaica's Integrity Commission Act was designed to prevent corruption, and here are 5 things you should know. 1. Under this law, every year MPs and senators must report what they earn, own, and owe, and if they don't, they'll be sanctioned. 2. Their report must include the same kind of information for their wife or husband and children. 3. If they get a gift worth more than $100,000 from anyone who's not family, they must declare it. 4. A summary of the declarations of our Prime Minister and opposition leader must be published where the public can read it. 5. Parliamentarians can now be prosecuted by the Integrity Commission. They can be fined up to $2 million or serve up to 2 years in prison if they don't file the declaration or if they give false information, and $500,000 for not filing on time or ignoring requests for information. Unfortunately, our parliamentarians made changes that prevent the public from knowing when they've broken the law or when they're being investigated. We really need to change that. Visit jampja.org to find out more about the Act and to track if your MP is obeying this law. If they're not, JAMP's MP Tracker will help you write, tweet, or call your MP. Ask them, you submit your declaration yet? The Integrity Commission clear you? Let's help the Parliament stay honest. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
A new story is being written for all Jamaicans. The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation is on a mission to transform lives. From increasing access to potable water, providing secure homes for the most vulnerable, and helping you own a piece of the rock. We're revitalizing communities and preserving our environment. We're making an impact. See the difference. Feel the difference. Building a better Jamaica for you and me.
You can feel it. Make JC.
Zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. You fit check out the servings. Just do the maths. Not taking too much. Finger below the facts. Zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. Take note of the sodium, the sugars and the fats. 5% or less in the on the right track. You fit zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. Vitamins, minerals and fiber to 20% and more. That good for you. You fit zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. You fit zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. You fit zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. Less sugar, less salt intake and less fat. You fit zoom in.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Jamaica Moves, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, the National Health Fund, and JAP.
Every student attending Heart and STA Trust under the New Care Initiative will get $15,000 each month to help cover their travel expenses to the Heart School they're attending and get an extra $13,000 each week while they're training.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
We want a peace for Jamaica. Yeah. We have to be our brother's keeper. Yeah. Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life. What we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I. No say we future bright. Jamaica live good. Come together as one. I make the violence the one.
Hi guys, Christopher here again to encourage you to take care of the whole of you. This week, we spotlight social wellness and its importance to your overall wellness. So social wellness is about making positive connections with those around you. And when you get those connections right, including learning how to set boundaries, we are put in the position to thrive and to do well. Of course, like all other dimensions of wellness, it has to be nurtured. In this video, we provide you with some tips on how to do so. Take a look.
Hi guys, Senator Dr. Sapphire Longmore here again, and we're going to be continuing in our series of taking care of the whole you for your mental wellness. Today we're going to be focusing on our social health. Many persons don't realize that our social health is key to our mental wellness, and what it really means is that we're encouraging you to have good, positive connections with the people you come in contact with, starting with your family and the wider community. Realistically, not all relationships are positive, and it is important for you to know how to deal with those situations. When we're talking about socializing, it starts, yes, in our home, but it involves all the social contacts you come in contact with, including the online space. And so we must take care there too. We want to help you to know how best to communicate and deal with differences when they come up. We have with us development specialist Carla Moore to relate more about taking care of our social health as a part of taking care of the whole you.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Carla Moore. I weigh 125 pounds, I'm 6 foot 2 inches tall, and I make $2 million a month. You see how it easy if it a lie? $2 million weigh 125 pounds, which part? Now, imagine you couldn't actually see me if you know me I tell lie, because instead of looking at me, you were looking at my social media profile, which I had very carefully curated to convince you that my life is perfect. You wanna know me I use filter for slim off of my face, or me stand up and create for look tall, or me I pose with other people money? I could show you anything I wanted you to see, and you would have take it as truth. Better yet, you would have probably compare your life to my life and feel bad about yourself. And plenty I will do it. But the point of this video is, you don't have to, because you can take care of your social health. Now, I'll soon tell you more about that part there, but first I want to talk to the man them. Did you know that in Jamaica, males are more likely to hurt other males and to be hurt by other males? And me I talk about from the liquor boy them all the way up to the old man them. Do you know why that is? It's not because every man head chip, and it's not because of some man time. It's partly because we tell men and boys to buckle up them emotions. You know what I mean, you know? When the little boy drop on a ball, and instead of you go up the pick-me, I tell him to walk it off, man, top of yourself. And when the big man them stress out and sad, and everybody I tell them to hold it. Hold what? How? Hold it where? Man a human too. You know what happen when things buckle up for too long? One day them a go bust out. And plenty of the fighting, the bullying, and the violence where you see at daytime, start right there so. Comparing yourself to others, buckling up your emotions, bullying, and basically living on social media, them something they mash up your social health and you not even know it. Because here's the truth. You have a right to be yourself and feel good about yourself. People are supposed to treat you good. You're supposed to have good friends, have good relationships, and you should be able to have disagreements without violence. And even though right now we are mad so mad, and we are mad out, you're supposed to have good mental health as well. But the reality is, most of us don't know how to take care of our social health. So here are 4 tips. 1, no say nice. 2, set your boundaries. 3, manage your emotions. And 4, know when you need to ask for help. So make us start with no say you're nice. Tonight, before you go to your bed, sit down and make a list of what's good about you. And you see if you ever start compare yourself to other people, you can go back and read the list. And surround yourself with people who make you feel good about yourself. We don't have no space for no bring down, no bad mind friend. 2, set your boundaries. If you're not happy with how someone or something is making you feel, you have the right to say so or leave. Another term for this is boundaries.